ads. And before I get started, I want to share with you something really important. I don't want you to get offended or get defensive at anything, but, oops, I'm running the presentation. Your ads don't work. 96% of consumers don't trust them. And 80% of businesses don't use them when they're trying to decide whether they want to do business with you or not. The truth of the matter is, people want to know who you are. They want to know what you do, why you do it, what motivates you, and what you can do for them. And finally, if they can trust you to actually do that. And who better to tell your story to than someone who tells stories for a living? Once again, my name is Beverly. I've been telling other people's stories for the past 30 years. I've interviewed artists, businesses, entrepreneurs. My work has appeared in the South Seattle Emerald most recently, and I founded Artists Up Close. And I've also appeared on Town Hall Seattle, interviewing various people in the space of arts and science. One thing that I've learned working and talking to people and telling their stories, interviewing them, listening to their stories, is that have one thing in common. They're absolutely terrified of journalists. Absolutely scared. Most people think that journalists are like this. They're stern, they're judgmental, they're trying to trip you up, maybe they're gonna misquote you, mischaracterize what you said and make you seem like an absolute monster to the public. But the truth is that most journalists are like this. At their heart, they're storytellers. They're curious. They're interested in you, what you're doing in the community, how you're impacting the people in the city, in the neighborhood, in the state, in the country, and globally. Okay. All right. And sorry. In this presentation, I want to talk about how you can connect with journalists like this. The person who is a storyteller, the person who's curious. And the first step that it's going to be 5 steps. And the first five tips, not 5 steps. 5 tips. The first tip is when you're talking to a journalist, you want to be honest. You don't need to tell a journalist your entire life story. You don't need to give all your secrets. But if you do share something, it should be the truth. Not telling the truth is going to be bad. Then you're going to get that other person. Number 2, sign the interview release form. Whether you get an interview release form from a journalist or not, the terms that they put forth on that interview release form are going to happen. They're going to paraphrase you. They're going to use your quote. They're going to publish what you said. You're going to tell your story to the public, and they're going to make money doing it by selling publications, by selling subscriptions, by putting it in a pocket. Sign the release, because the release isn't something scary. They're not trying to do something great. They're just telling you this is something. Number 3. Embrace the paraphrase. Oftentimes, when I've interviewed people in the past, they may begin giving a point, like in the first 5 minutes of the interview, and then 60 minutes in, they're finishing that point. It's not logistically possible for the interviewer, for the writer to actually give your entire quote off. So they just paraphrase what you're saying. So embrace the paraphrase, it's part of the process. Number 4, this is a big one, and this is something that happens like often. I ask people, okay, I'm ready to interview you. They're like, yes. Can I see the questions first? No, absolutely not. Please don't request the questions in advance. No one wants canned answers to their questions. And even if they did give you the questions in advance, they might not even be relevant because an interview is dynamic. It changes. What you're saying will change the platform that are being. And finally, the final question, the final tip is, what's it didn't have its coffee yet. Maybe I'm just extremely aggressive. So, okay, tip number 5. Mistakes are going to happen. So people are going to get your name wrong. They're going to misquote you. They're going to paraphrase and mischaracterize everything that you said. Do not send a 5-page email calling everybody, every name under the book. Just ask for a correction. They're happy to do it, and it's absolutely normal that mistakes are there. All right, so, okay, guys, this is like the most extensive presentation I've done, so bear with me. So those are the 5 tips, and I want to add something extra. Journalists want to hear from you. It doesn't matter that you just started your business last week. It doesn't matter that you're not making any money, right? It doesn't matter that you don't think that you're very interesting. No one thinks that they're only like narcissists think that they're very interesting, right? Like we all are inside our own lives. We're all in our own journey. So we don't really think it's that interesting, but the writer, the journalist, the curious individual will see the interest in your story and be able to highlight that and be able to show it and be able to share it with people who may be interested in your business. So, thank you for my presentation. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Having your questions, please ask me. And also, if you need someone who can talk to you about your story, that's what I do for a living. I talk to people about their story. So feel free to talk to me and reach out to me. You can reach me at beverly.com.
Anybody that came up with that. Sorry. I just want to make sure.
And also follow me on Instagram, Artists Up Close is company I founded where I interview artists and tell their stories, but I also interview business people for other publications. So feel free to connect to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beverly.
You're welcome. Are there any questions, curiosities? Yes.
If one wanted to tell their story to the media, how would one reach out to somebody in the media? What's like a good approach to, say, hey, I've got a story?
So in short, I will say press releases. In the long, I would say that's an entirely different presentation, right? I do help people construct press releases. But the short answer is press releases that are newsworthy. But starting the next presentation now, that's important, newsworthy.
And once you talk to the company, like where do you put it? Like who do you target with it? How do you get it out there?
So typically a press release, a lot of times people think the press release should go to an editor, but really the press release should go to a reporter who, you can send it to an editor, but it should go to a reporter who has written, either is writing in your sector. So let's say, for example, you are the inventor of like air purifiers, right? So maybe you will want to talk to someone, send a press release to a reporter who writes about inventors, and you would do that. You have to do research, right? So a lot of times publicists already have like a list of people to contact, but I recommend that you do research on the writers at the publication that you want to target. Any other questions? Yes.
Of course, you said mistakes count.
Yes.
So my question is, if the stories are already out there, everybody's read it, and mistakes are there, then how are the corrections made? Is the whole entire story run again with the mistakes corrected in it? So it's read again?
So for online publications, corrections are run immediately with a notation either at the top or at the bottom that says that this story incorrectly said blah, blah, blah. The correct so-and-so is X, Y, Z. So it's corrected in the body, and then there's a notation either at the beginning or the bottom. And the same thing happens with print, except that that's a longer, usually just the correction happens, right, in print. And that's a longer window, obviously. So like you've been interviewed for print magazine and they print that, you're gonna have to like wait like a month for that correction. But sometimes they have online and print. And so in that case, the online will be updated immediately. Yes.
Why do so many people don't trust friends? And how do you help them get past that?
I think there's a combination of things. I think that in the cultural imagination, especially when you have like leaders saying that the press are dangerous, where people internalize that, right? And they start believing that. I haven't always experienced this distrust. It's only really recently that this is happening. I also think that people are just afraid to give their story to someone else and have that story interpreted, because it might not be the way that they see themselves, right? So you sit down with someone and they tell you that you tell them your story, maybe the way they hear it is different from the way that you experience it. Any other questions? Yes.
Are there particular publications that you would recommend for small business owners?
It really depends on what kind of business you're doing. I wouldn't recommend any particular publications because I don't know the business, right? So there are publications, there are a lot of publications out there. So there are publications that are specific to an industry. So if you are a software company, you might want to go to, you're a software company selling to businesses, then you're going to want to go to business focused publications, right? But if you're a software company selling to consumers, then you're going to want to go to a consumer focused business. If you say you just create some type of, camera, photography camera, you're going to want to go to cameras, publications that write about new technology for photographers, right? So it's really specific to the company and what the company needs, who their target market is, and what they're trying to do. Like, what are they trying to say to the community? Who in the community are they trying to speak to? Anyone else?
I think that would be a great idea for a startup, is to put that information together so that you can put in information like maybe your customers are, your type of business, and then it comes out with the right people.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's so funny that you say that because I'm gonna preface this with, I'm not a linear thinker. I'm more like a spider web thinker. So I'm constantly working on different things that connect in different ways. And so I've been working as a writer, as a journalist for a very long time. And so this part of this, like this, showing people how to connect to the media is a part of what I'm doing that's just now emerging, but it emerged before and then it kind of went down and now it's like re-emerging. So that's a great idea. My roundabout way of saying that's a great idea. And I feel like my mind has been moving in a direction similar to that, where I can help people connect to the media, because the truth is, we need good stories. And journalism is underfunded. And so a lot of people like me are launching our own publications. A lot of publications have been underfunded and have folded. And the truth is that storytelling is part of the business ecosystem. And without it, it's going to impact everyone. Like if you don't have a way to tell your story as a business owner, it's going to impact your bottom line. Ads are not enough. People need to know who you are, okay? And what you're doing and why you're doing it. So all that to say that the system is reforming itself. And yes.
So if I'm an artist type of business, and I want to approach different publications that I think would kind of have the readers that might be a client, are they just going to want to sell me advertising as
No.
part of it? Okay.
No. That's the short answer, no. So here's the thing. Ads don't sell papers, stories. People pick up, even just Twitter, TikTok, any of that. People want story, right? If you have a story to tell, something, and you can connect to the right writer, they will actually advocate on your behalf. They will take that story and pitch it and say, I want to tell this person's story. That's what actually happens. But if you send something out that's just a glorified ad, and it feels canned, and it feels guarded, and it feels like you just want to sell your stuff, you're not going to get a reporter interested. So that's the key. We need to get the writer interested, because that's who's going to advocate for you. And if you go to the Seattle Times, yes, but if you go to smaller publications, no. And I don't have anything against the Seattle Times. I'm just saying, because that's there. Everyone wants to be in the Seattle Times because it's the only thing going, right? Like it's big, but there's a lot of smaller publications out there that have a very niche market, who are extremely active and will engage with the person that has been spoken about in that story. And I'm going to add something to that. I've been doing this for a long time, and I also did it, I also wrote press releases for corporations before I really began pulling back from that. But what I have learned is that when people get good press, and what I mean by good press is your story, your genuine story, your genuine journey is being shared, the human side of it. That opens up doors in ways that you can't strategize for. I've seen people go from getting no press, getting something in a small publication with a great writer, a great storyteller, and then getting covered by TV. Because the big boys look at the small boys and girls to see what they're doing, because those are the people who are out on the ground really, hitting the pavement and finding out what's happening. All right.
Well, thank
I love
you.
that. That was great.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Well, as a gift to for presenting, thank you so much, a fun travel mug. And Beverly, we ask all of our presenters, just to clarify, so I know that you've already touched on this, but just to clarify, what can the 1 Million Cups community do for you?
Well, you can go follow Artists Up Close. You can go to Artists Up Close and sign up for the free newsletter. I write about artists. You can take one of the flyers there. And also you can give me feedback on my presentation. I know it's a little raggedy because I write for a living and I'm very good at talking with people, but like a structured presentation, I think is a little bit new to me, right? So I would love to hear feedback about that. And I think that's it.
Awesome. If people can grab those,
Yeah,
to take home and then follow. Awesome. Sorry. Awesome. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Beverly. All right. So follow artists up close. All right.